To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Modi Gambhir. Lots lined up. Let's get started. Tonight on Gravitas, our top story is about China's secret missile intercept against India. That's right. China conducted a missile intercept test near the Indian border. What exactly happened? What's the full story? We unravel the many layers to get to the bottom of things. That's coming up in just a bit. Meanwhile, here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. West Asia remains on the boil. All eyes on the next move. Will things spiral out of control? We get you the latest from on the ground in Nepal, where flood fury has wreaked havoc. A special report coming up for you. Fake currency notes with veteran Indian actor Anupam Kher's photograph have been seized in India. We get you the complete story. All this and much more coming your way. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about China's secret missile intercept against India. You heard that right. Sometime in August, China conducted a missile intercept test near the Indian border. The test was part of a live fire drill, basically involving surface-to-air missile operations in the Karakoram Plateau. What's surprising is that the test took place on the day Indian and Chinese officials engaged in diplomatic talks over the long-standing border issues. Now, some might ask, what is up with this duplicity? But it's also not all that surprising. In fact, this is classic China, it seems, talking about peace while holding a gun to your back in a way. If the secret missile intercept operation was meant to send out a message to India, it has succeeded in a way. It clearly shows that China cannot be trusted. Here's what else you need to know. According to the Chinese media, China's People's Liberation Army Xinjiang military district, which is responsible for the Chinese side of the border in the western region, conducted the live-fire drills. During the drills, a subsonic cruise missile was successfully intercepted at an altitude of 5,300 meters, that's 17,390 feet, for the first time. The drill basically showed that the interceptor missile was stable as well as effective, even in harsh conditions. Now, the specific location of the test has not been disclosed, nor is it known when the test took place, but analysts do say that the proximity of the test to the Indian border suggests that it was part of a deterrent strategy. But here's the kicker. According to Chinese state media, China conducted the missile intercept test on the same day as the 31st meeting between China and India on border affairs in Beijing. And during the meeting, they agreed to strengthen dialogue and maintain peace along the border. 2 weeks later, during talks in St. Petersburg, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval agreed to work together to create the conditions needed to improve bilateral ties. You see, China and India share a disputed border known as the Line of Actual Control, LAC. It spans approximately 3,488 kilometers. In fact, the conflict in the Himalayas has been a major point of contention in the relationship for a while now. Tensions escalated in the year 2020 during a standoff, resulting in the first deadly clash between the two sides in at least 45 years. Despite diplomatic engagement since then, India has remained on high alert at the border. That's because while China talks of peace, it has increased its troop presence and military infrastructure in the region, leading to concerns about potential for a full-scale conflict. Of course, India has also bolstered its military presence and infrastructure along the border. The latest updates indicate that both the countries are working towards a potential resolution that considers respective military positions along the LAC prior to April 2020. This involves exploring ways to address disputes in Arunachal Pradesh, an area of contention in the eastern sector of the border. Now, for India, this could result in regaining access to important patrolling points along the LAC in Ladakh, which had been blocked either by Chinese forces or through establishment of buffer zones in previous disengagement agreements. This follows the 31st round of talks between China and India, which was held on the 29th of August in Beijing. But the recent reports of a missile intercept test dash hopes in a way of progress. According to Chinese experts, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, has been testing weapons and equipment since 2020 amid tensions along the frontier with India. The latest test, they say, was consistent with this practice and aimed to convey a deterrent message. This message suggests that to avoid war, one must first possess the capability to fight. You see, despite the signs of easing tensions this year, China has resumed provocative activities. It's important to note here that the 2020 standoff, which led to the ongoing tensions, was triggered by China's secret encroachments into India's northernmost territory of Ladakh just before the reopening of the Himalayan access routes after the harsh winter. According to Chinese military commentators, the Chinese military test could be seen as a guarantee of strength to support talks between India and China. The goal of the test was to intercept all incoming targets, whether they are subsonic or hypersonic missiles. They say that negotiations without that guarantee of strength are unlikely to actually produce results. That China secretly conducted missile intercept test will surely raise concerns in New Delhi. After all, it has significant implications for regional security. It basically tells us that China is actively enhancing its military capabilities, focusing on creating a more sophisticated arsenal, one that improves its lethality and effectiveness. According to Indian experts, the timing of the test, that it came amid the peace talks between the two sides, suggests that India could be compelled to accelerate its own military capabilities. It is abundantly clear that China is aggressively strengthening its forward military positions. it is constructing permanent defenses and infrastructure along the border. And their actions indicate that they have no intention of returning to their peacetime locations anytime soon. While there may be some progress in political diplomatic talks, the defense establishment is keenly aware of the high trust deficit on the ground with the Chinese army. Consequently, India is moving forward vigorously with preparations and maintaining its forward deployment of troops for the 5th successive winter. We now shift our focus to the deepening crisis in West Asia. The region remains on edge. A series of events have brought West Asia closer to a full-scale catastrophic war. Early Monday morning, Israel launched airstrikes on central Beirut for the first time since 2006, since the second Israel-Lebanon war, basically. What were the targets? 3 senior figures of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, a group reportedly infamous for hijacking aircraft in the 1970s. The scenes were reportedly brutal. 2 stories of an apartment building blown to pieces. Bodies could be seen lying on the street, possibly ejected by the force of the blast, and onlookers rushing towards the damaged site. What does that tell us? Why is Israel striking targets in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon? And why now? What's with the timing? The answer is quite simple. Israel's war is expanding. Just hours before the Beirut strike, Israel, as per reports, bombed targets in Yemen. So what's really going on here? Let's just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Is Israel being dragged into this? Or is it orchestrating a broader conflict by taking the fight to multiple fronts? You see, the airstrikes in Yemen targeted Houthi forces, and this is not the first time the two sides have exchanged fire. Of course, the Houthis have been launching missile strikes at Israel for months now, claiming solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. The Houthis, remember, are not acting alone. They are heavily supported by Iran, and this is where the situation gets even more complicated. Could these attacks actually escalate into a larger Iran-Israel showdown is the question. And more importantly, is this the beginning of a wider regional war that will drag West Asia into further chaos? Because Iran is deeply entrenched in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen. The countries surrounding Israel are directly or indirectly tied to Iran's influence, basically. And as the fighting, as the hostilities spread, we are witnessing the dominoes starting to fall in a way. Look at the numbers. As per reports, in Lebanon alone, over 1,000 people have reportedly been killed in just 2 weeks. 1 million people, that's a fifth of the country's population, have fled their homes. Israel claims to be targeting Hezbollah and its commanders, but the civilian death toll is on the rise rapidly. The Lebanese Health Ministry reported 105 people killed in Israeli strikes across the country on Sunday alone. So, is this just a war between Israel and Hezbollah, or is it a war that's tearing the entire region apart? Let's not forget what's happening in Yemen. Dozens of Israeli planes bombed Houthi targets in the port of Hodeidah on Sunday, targeting fuel facilities, power plants, and docks. These were massive strikes, among the largest in the near year-long crisis, by the way. What's the connection here, you ask? Well, the Houthis have been firing ballistic missiles at Israel. One missile launched just days ago was reportedly aimed at none other than the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu's plane, as it was landing in Tel Aviv. And the Houthis did not stop there. They launched a series of attacks on Israel, including ballistic missile strikes on military targets in Tel Aviv and drone attacks in Ashkelon. But here's the bigger question. Can this conflict still be contained? Can the region avoid a war that will drag Iran, Syria, Lebanon and the rest of the region into a full-scale confrontation? On Sunday, US President Joe Biden was asked if an all-out war in West Asia could be avoided. Here's what he had to say.
Can an all-out war in the Middle East be avoided? It has to be. We really have to avoid it. Yes, I will be talking to them. I'll tell you what I say to them when I talk to them. Yes, sir.
But will Biden's statement be enough to prevent a full-blown war, or are we actually watching the first sparks of a conflict that will end up engulfing the entire region? Because let's not forget, Israel last week outrightly rejected US and its allies' call for a 21-day ceasefire along the Lebanon-Israel border. Along the Israel-Lebanon border. And this is no longer just about Hezbollah or Hamas or the Houthis. It's about the rapidly escalating tensions and hostilities. And what really is Israel's end game here? The Israeli military has been relentless in its strikes, killing senior commanders like Nabil Kaouk, the deputy head of Hezbollah's Central Council, and Ali Karaki, a senior commander who was struck down just days ago alongside Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah. But how long can this go on for? How long before this crisis becomes a global crisis? And more importantly, can it be stopped before it's too late? One thing is clear, the region is teetering on the edge of further chaos. The coming days, weeks, months perhaps, will determine whether things remain regional or will the crisis explode into something far bigger? But if the past 2 weeks have shown us anything, it's that we are closer to the brink than ever before. And let's now talk about India's statement of intent, its willingness to confront challenges head-on through upgrading and boosting its naval forces, equipped to dominate the seas, protect the country's interests and ensure peace and stability in the region. What are we talking about? As per reports, France has presented India with its final offer for 26 Rafale marine jets, marking a crucial step in strengthening the Indian Navy's maritime strike capabilities. As per reports, after several rounds of negotiations, France has slashed the price of these advanced fighter jets, making them more accessible to India, especially at a time when modernizing naval defenses is becoming increasingly vital due to rising tensions across India's border and the nearby areas. As India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval prepares to visit France, this deal, as per reports, is expected to take center stage. The need for Rafale marine jets is clear. Reports say the Indian Navy has long been seeking an upgrade, basically, in its combat fleet, specifically with jets that can operate from aircraft carriers like INS Vikrant and INS Vikramaditya. As tensions simmer in the Indian Ocean region, this deal basically could redefine India's maritime dominance. Reports also say the original estimates placed the deal at over 50,000 crore rupees. But after extensive discussions, France's offer has come down significantly, although the exact price remains undisclosed. Let's just talk about what really makes the Rafale marine jets such game changers. These jets, reportedly, are not just an upgrade. They represent a leap forward in maritime defense technology, a huge leap at that. They are equipped with specialized anti-ship weaponry. That's not all. Its advanced 4.5 generation systems make them some of the most formidable aircraft in the world, reportedly built specifically to dominate in naval warfare. The Rafale marine jets are fully compatible with the existing Rafale fleet operated by the Indian Air Force. This integration ensures that maintenance, logistics, even pilot training can be streamlined across both the Navy and the Air Force. And why does India need these jets? As per reports, the Navy's existing fleet of MiG-29K aircraft, while competent, is aging and cannot keep up with the growing maritime security challenges in the region in a way. Reportedly, they are no longer enough to ensure India's strategic dominance in the Indian Ocean. With China's increasing presence in the region and the emergence of newer threats, the Navy, as per reports, needs modern fighter jets like the Rafale Marine to stay ahead. The Rafale Marine jets are also reportedly equipped with cutting-edge features specifically designed for carrier-based operations. Their reinforced landing gears, folding wings, tail hooks allow them to operate seamlessly from aircraft carriers, making them ideal for India's naval strategy. These jets are not just built for speed and maneuverability. They are designed to withstand the harsh conditions of naval warfare, making them invaluable assets for India's maritime security. Now, what does all of this mean for India's naval future? First and foremost, it means that the Indian Navy will now have a far more lethal strike capability at its disposal. The Rafale marine jets, you see, will be deployed on INS Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant, two aircraft carriers that form the backbone of India's naval power. These jets will give India the ability to project power deep into the Indian Ocean, ensuring that the country remains a dominant player in this strategically vital region. That's not all. The integration of Rafale marine jets into the Navy's fleet will allow India to counterbalance the growing naval forces of its adversaries, particularly China. As Beijing continues to expand its influence in the Indian Ocean, having a superior naval strike force will be critical for India to safeguard its maritime interests and maintain a strong presence in international waters. And as we await the official signing, one thing is clear: the Rafale marine jets will likely become the new backbone of India's naval strike force, ushering in a new era of maritime strength and security.
Все, пошел за ним. Давай, давай, давай. Гагарин, давай за ним.
Shifting focus now to the war in Ukraine. On Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin celebrated the second anniversary of annexing 4 Ukrainian regions. He vowed to achieve all his goals in Ukraine, this as his army has claimed fresh advances in the war. This year, Moscow has captured dozens of Ukrainian towns and villages and has pressed forward, despite a cross-border offensive that was launched by Ukraine into Russian territory in the month of August. It did not slow the Russians down, by the way. Propelled by the advances made by his troops on the ground, Putin said that the truth repeated his justification for sending troops into Ukraine, saying he was protecting Russian speakers against a neo-Nazi dictatorship.
Western elites during this time turned Ukraine into their colony, into a military base aimed at Russia. They systematically planted hatred and radical nationalism, incited hostility to everything Russian, supplied weapons, sent mercenaries and advisors, and prepared the Ukrainian army for a new war.
Now remember, Russia unilaterally annexed the 4 Ukrainian regions of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson. This was in September 2022, but it does not fully control any of them. In recent months, Russia has pursued a relentless assault in East Ukraine, pressing its advantage as Ukrainian soldiers grapple with exhaustion and relentless bombardment. Putin's comments came shortly after Russia launched a fresh wave of missile and drone attacks at Ukraine overnight. Some of them were aimed at the capital city, Kiev. And wreckage from some of the downed weapons barrage caused fires. On Monday, the Russian army said that its troops had liberated the Ukrainian village of Nelipivka, quote-unquote liberated. It lies just north of the Ukrainian town of New York, where Kiev claimed to have made rare gains earlier in September. But the main target of Russia's assault in recent months has been the Ukrainian logistics hub of Pokrovsk, a city that lies on road and rail routes, supplying Ukrainian forces across the front line. On Monday, the Russian Defense Ministry also released footage of the fighting in the town of Novorovtika, a town close to Pokrovsk. In the footage, a small group of Russian soldiers are seen moving in the town and firing assault rifles. Russian forces have also started storming Vuhledar, which is a stronghold that has resisted Russian attacks since the beginning of the 2022 war. The Ukrainian governor of the region, Vadim Filashkin, says that Russia's troops had not reached the outskirts of Vuhledar, but its reconnaissance groups were operating there. Analysts do say that Russia appeared to be intensifying a push on Vuhledar, but its capture would not substantially alter Moscow's prospects for further advances, as it already controlled most of the main roads running into the town. You see, the Russian forces have accelerated their progress in Donetsk region, and they are taking a series of towns and villages. On the 25th of September, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reported that military dynamics in eastern Ukraine were positive. Ukrainian forces are under severe pressure in the town, which is one of a belt of strongholds in the Donetsk region. And this also, with Luhansk, makes up the partly occupied region of Donbass. In fact, on several occasions, Putin has said that Russia's primary tactical goal is to take the whole of the Donbass region in southeastern Ukraine. As of now, Russia controls just under a fifth of Ukraine, including about 80% of the Donbass region. Shifting focus for now, major floods and landslides in Nepal have killed 204 people and injured more than 100 across the country. Search and rescue operations are on for the third consecutive day. Here's a detailed report.
We had run away the last time, but nothing happened. But this time all the houses were flooded. As the water levels rose, we had to cut the roof and get out. We jumped from one roof to another and finally reached our concrete house.
Nepal is grappling with the aftermath of the deadly floods and landslides triggered by days of relentless heavy rains. The floods have claimed over 200 lives. In the capital city Kathmandu, several residential areas are submerged. The monsoon rains destroyed hundreds of homes and swept away bridges, cut off power and uprooted trees. Rescuers sieved through mud looking for signs of life. Many people were trapped under the debris, while others were stranded on rooftops. More than 3,600 people have been rescued so far. But with more than 100 injured and dozens still missing, government officials expect the death toll to rise. Nepal has shut schools for 3 days. The floods brought traffic and normal activity to a standstill. In the Kathmandu Valley, where 37 deaths were recorded in a region that is home to 4 million people. The floods have left a trail of destruction. The Himalayan region now faces a daunting cleanup ahead.
We can't see right now how much loss has been incurred, but there are at least 400 shops here. The 400 shops have suffered a loss of at least 10 million rupees.
Torrential rains also brought heavy floods to India's eastern state of Bihar. Rivers in districts bordering Nepal are flowing above danger levels. Both the Kosi and Gandak are overflowing in the catchment areas of Nepal and North Bihar for the last 2 days.
The powerhouse is submerged and there is no electricity. It is completely dark in the houses. Houses are flooded, cattle are suffering, children cannot go to schools. We have been displaced by the water.
According to a Nepal State Weather Office forecast, heavy rains along with a thunderstorm are likely over the next few days. Nepalese weather officials say the rainstorms were caused by a low-pressure system in the Bay of Bengal extending over parts of India. Meanwhile, the Indian Embassy has issued an advisory to its citizens stranded in Nepal. The embassy says it is coordinating with Nepal for the safe evacuation of stranded citizens. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Meanwhile, the Taliban nightmare continues for girls in Afghanistan. According to this report, the Taliban is attempting to force divorced child brides to return to their adult former husbands despite the girls having been granted divorce by the Afghan government. It is titled Divorced Afghan Child Brides Forced to Return to Former Husbands under Taliban rule. It cites a BBC report which basically talks about how a child bride won the right to divorce and now the Taliban say it doesn't count. Basically, the BBC followed the case of one Bibi Nazdana. It has reported that the Taliban is invalidating divorces granted by the Afghan court, forcing divorced child brides to return to their former husbands, their previous marital status, basically. Let's just take a step back here. This is about the future of Afghan girls, the future of an entire generation. Remember what Afghanistan-based Tolo News reported earlier this year? United Nations agencies have said that the restrictions imposed by the Taliban on women and girls will increase the number of child marriages among Afghan girls by 25%. 25%. UN Women, the International Organization for Migration and the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, have released a joint 2-page brief. And in the brief, the UN agencies have basically highlighted the issues faced by Afghan women and their demands of the international community. As per the 2-page brief, the continuation of restrictions by the Taliban on women and girls will impact child marriages by an increase of 25%, increase early childbearing by 45%, increase the risk of maternal mortality by 50%. According to the brief, currently 82% of Afghan women consider their mental health to be bad. It further noted that Afghanistan is the only country in the world that bans girls from studying in schools beyond the 6th class. What is this life? How can women and young girls be subjected to such enormous restrictions at so many levels? It is heartbreaking. It makes me angry. In the year 2021 itself, a UNICEF statement noted how girls are increasingly at risk of child marriage in Afghanistan, noting how the extremely dire economic situation in the country is pushing more families deeper into poverty and forcing them to make desperate choices, like putting children to work and marrying girls off at a young age. You see, just to put this simply, child marriage robs girls of their childhood. It has detrimental impact on their health and economic prospects. It has harmful effects on girls' development, access to education, overall quality of life. As per the UNICEF, girls who marry before 18 are more likely to experience domestic violence and less likely to remain in school. It is often closely linked to early childbearing with an increased risk of complications during pregnancy and childbirth. It also noted that the decision on child marriage is often taken by male family members with the expectation that girls conform to the norm. Giving girls and women in Afghanistan their basic freedoms and rights is the need of the hour. The future of girls, an entire generation, the future of a country, its women, is at stake after all. And the world cannot just simply stand by and watch. On to India now. The third and the last phase of the assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir is to be held on the 1st of October. Ample security arrangements have been put in place, especially in the areas close to the line of control. Areas like Baramulla, Kupwara, Kathua, close to the line of control and international border, will also see polling amid tight security measures. Our special correspondent, Intercept, getting us this special report.
The last phase on October 1st will see 40 assembly constituencies up for election with 415 candidates in fray. The Election Commission of India has established 5,060 polling stations with 240 special polling stations across 7 districts. In Kashmir division, 16 assembly constituencies, while as in Jammu, 24 assembly constituencies will be going to polls. In total, more than 20,000 polling staff will be deployed on duty for the third phase of election. Close to 4 million voters are eligible to exercise their franchise, with almost equal number of male and female voters and 57 third-gender voters registered. As many as 200,000 youth between the age 18 to 19 years, along with 35,860 persons with disabilities and 32,953 elderly voters above the age of 85 are also eligible to cast their ballot in this phase. There will be 50 polling booths managed by women, known as pink polling stations. 43 polling stations manned by specially abled persons and 40 polling stations manned by the youngsters. There will also be 45 green polling stations in order to spread messages about environmental concern and 33 unique polling stations. 29 polling stations are established near the line of control. The important candidates in the fray in the last phase of assembly elections are Sajjad Ghani Lone of the People's Conference, Muzaffar Hussain Beg as independent, Raman Balla from the Congress and Tara Chand from Congress. The Election Commission is also making sure to use the technology. Webcasting of polling stations and GPS for vehicles has been done in almost all polling stations. They will have CCTV type cameras for live webcasting to control rooms established at the district and CEO office. Cameras will be positioned in such a way so that they don't violate the secrecy of vote. The voting will take place from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Security remains one of the major concerns for the security agencies in North Kashmir's Baramulla as well as Kupwara and Handwara and Bandipora districts. Elections would be held, and these are areas which have seen ceasefire violations in the last few months, while as in Jammu also we've seen continuous attacks by militant groups in the last 6 months, and that's one of the major concerns that security forces have to tackle with, and that is why security now has been beefed up across Jammu and Kashmir. with video journalist Firoz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
The Government of India has released a set of new draft guidelines on passive euthanasia. The Union Health Ministry's draft guidelines, articulated by AIMS, will now give patients suffering from terminal illness the right to choose death. The draft further explains terminal illness as an incurable condition wherein death is inevitable in the foreseeable future. Passive euthanasia is where medical treatments are deliberately withheld for patients. This includes taking away ventilators, feeding tubes, and stopping medications, allowing the disease to worsen in the patient, leading to death. This is often the case when the patient is terminally ill and is virtually left without any chances of recovery or is in a state of coma. This, of course, is in stark contrast to active euthanasia, where the terminally ill patient is killed intentionally on voluntary request by the doctor. Back in 2018, the Supreme Court of India legalized passive euthanasia. The Health Ministry has laid out 4 conditions for carrying out passive euthanasia in its draft that has left the medical fraternity miffed in a way. For a doctor to carry out passive euthanasia, the patient must be declared brainstem dead as per the Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994. In medical terminology, brainstem death is complete cessation of all brainstem functions. The draft also stated that the doctor must take a call on removing life support measures only if the medical prognosis of the patient indicates that the disease cannot be cured from any further treatment. Further, the doctor must take into account any refusal family members and guardians representing the patients to remove them from life support. The doctor should also duly comply with the procedure prescribed by the Supreme Court. Furthermore, the Supreme Court's legal principles stating that an adult patient can refuse life-sustaining treatments even if it leads to the patient's death. The life support can also be withheld for patients who have lost the decision-making capacity by submitting an advance medical directive, which is a declaration given by the patient's family or guardian. A cohort of at least 3 physicians from the primary medical board should take a call for a patient who is not in a condition to decide whether he or she should require life support treatment. The primary medical board must explain the illness, medical treatment, and the consequences of taking and not taking additional medication to the patient's family or guardian. Further, a secondary medical board will later validate the decision taken by the primary medical board. Shifting focus now, the fact that Anupam Kher, a seasoned Indian actor, is a valuable asset to the world of cinema is widely known. However, his worth was inflated by counterfeiters in Gujarat. They affixed his image on fake 500 rupee notes, amounting to a total of 1.6 crore rupees. The incident was brought to light when 2 unidentified individuals deceived a trader in the Indian city of Ahmedabad by using counterfeit notes that featured Anupam Kher instead of Mahatma Gandhi. Another interesting observation is that the currency notes had Reserve Bank of India printed on them instead of Reserve Bank of India. Images of these counterfeit notes have now gone viral on social media, with many people expressing shock and others finding it amusing. One of those amused by the incident is Anupam Kher himself, who took to his Instagram recently and shared a news clip of the fake currency bust. In the caption, he wrote, I'm quoting, "My photo instead of Gandhi's photo on the 500 rupee note. Anything can happen," quote unquote. Well, anything can happen indeed. Anupam Kher, known for making his acting debut with the Mahesh Bhatt directorial Saranch, is widely regarded as one of the finest actors in Indian cinema. He has portrayed a wide range of characters, including numerous critically acclaimed leading or supporting roles. His accomplishments include 2 National Film Awards. He was honoured by the Government of India with the Padma Shri, the 4th highest civilian award of the Republic of India in 2004, and the Padma Bhushan, the 3rd highest civilian award in 2016. We live in an age where technology is vastly being used to constantly find solutions to problems once thought difficult to be solved. Now, a remarkable development in the field of medicine has the potential to change the lives of millions around the world. Scientists from Monash University in Australia, as per reports, have introduced a groundbreaking innovation that could reshape the future for those who suffer from blindness. We are talking about the world's first bionic eye, known as the Generis Bionic Vision System. Let's break it down for you. This huge leap is offering hope to those who have lost their eyesight, marking a pivotal moment in the evolution of healthcare. So what makes this system so special and revolutionary and life-changing? The vision system has been under development for nearly 10 years now, as per reports. A product of intensive research and countless trials, its design is intended to bypass damaged optic nerves, which typically carry visual information from the eyes to the brain. Instead of relying on the eyes, the system sends signals directly to the brain's visual center, enabling individuals to perceive images in a way that was once thought unimaginable. As per reports, after promising results from animal studies, human trials are on the horizon. The first of these trials will take place in Melbourne, where patients will get the opportunity to experience the bionic eye firsthand. In earlier trials conducted with sheep, the technology, as per reports, demonstrated minimal side effects and was successfully implanted into the brain. Now, if these human trials prove successful, it could reportedly bring us closer to a future where blindness is no longer a permanent condition, but a challenge that can be overcome. So how exactly does this incredible technology work? As per reports, the system includes a custom-fitted headgear equipped with a wireless transmitter and a camera. Tiny implants, each about 9 millimeters in size, are placed directly into the brain, and these implants then receive and process visual data, offering a form of sight to the user. What makes this innovation remarkable is not just the restoration of vision, but the potential to explore other medical possibilities. Researchers are already, in fact, looking into ways to extend the technology's benefits to patients with neurological disorders, such as those living with paralysis. Now, what sets this system apart from the previous attempts at creating a bionic eye? The answer lies in its ability to mimic the eye's natural structure. Earlier designs basically struggle to replicate the eye's concave retina, which is essential for capturing a wide field of view. The system, however, uses advanced technology to achieve a more natural vision, a more natural-like vision, while the artificial eye currently offers a 100-degree field of view, slightly less than the human eye's typical 130 degrees. It still outperforms older flat sensor technologies that reportedly max out at just 70 degrees. The potential success of the system could change the way we approach blindness forever, offering sight to millions and opening the doors to treating disorders, a potentially monumental leap forward in the world of medical technology. BookMyShow is in the spotlight following summons issued by the Economic Offences Wing of the Mumbai Police. The CEO and the company's technical head are reportedly required to appear before the investigative officer regarding allegations of black market ticket sales for the upcoming Coldplay concert. This comes after a complaint was filed by Mumbai-based lawyer Amit Vyas. He claimed that BookMyShow engaged in dishonest practices, hindering legitimate fans from securing tickets during the official sale that commenced on the 22nd of September. The complaint alleges that during the ticket sales, which attracted over 13 million fans logging in, many legitimate users were either logged out or blocked from accessing the site. This created an opportunity for ticket bots and black market sellers, as per the claims that have been made. Tickets quickly disappeared from the official site and reappeared on secondary resale platforms at inflated prices. Vyas has indicated his intention to file a first information report under multiple provisions. This includes organized crime, fraud, and breach of trust, further complicating the situation for BookMyShow. In response to the allegations, BookMyShow has issued a statement emphasizing its commitment to fair ticketing practices. The company implemented a queuing system to manage the overwhelming demand and capped ticket purchases at 4 per user. Additionally, BookMyShow clarified that it has no affiliation with secondary resale sites, asserting that it has filed complaints regarding counterfeit tickets being sold by unauthorized platforms. Coldplay prepares for their concerts in India in January 2025. Moving on, COVID-19 lockdowns impacted our lives on Earth, but its impact was also felt on the moon. What are we talking about? A team of Indian scientists have found something quite incredible. The moon's temperature dropped 8 to 10 Kelvin during COVID-19. Using NASA's Lunar reconnaissance orbiter, the scientists basically discovered that the moon had a chill time in the strict lockdown period. The temperature dip was actually due to less human activity on Earth, which means less radiation escaping from our atmosphere, less greenhouse gases, and less heat. And the ripple effect reached all the way to the moon. Scientists looked at 6 different sites on the moon's near side using data from 2017 to 2023 and found 2020 was the coldest year up there. Temperatures started to rise again in 2021 and 2022 as we got back to business on Earth. But that is not all. The scientists think we could use moon-based observatories to keep an eye on Earth's changes. So the moon is not just a pretty rock up there, it's becoming an unexpected climate monitor as well. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
men in Benin, including a former minister and the man in charge of President Patrice Talon's security, have been arrested on suspicion of plotting a coup. A group of disabled Kenyan women makes a living by sewing reusable sanitary pads. The money they earn by selling this environmentally friendly product means they don't have to go to the streets of Mombasa to beg. And a South African woman who could be the oldest living person in the world celebrates what is said to be her 118th birthday with a small party at her care home in a town just inland from Cape Town. That's this week on World of Africa at these times on WION. World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 PM IST, 1 PM GMT.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello and welcome to Pulse on WION World is One.